Good afternoon, and welcome to Lockdown Week 3, I think it is. And today's word is stickability. Have you heard of it before? Stickability. As a kid, I remember having a passion for collecting stamps. I would find these envelopes, I would steam off the postage stamps over a kettle. I would mount the stamps, in an album. But after around 6 months or so, I kind of lost the passion. And along came another one, fishing. I went and got a rod, I bought tackle, I would go to the dams and fish for bass, I would fish in the ocean. But again, after some time, that passion left me. And I still remember my mom finding my bait bag, which I had neglected to unpack in the laundry. I won't tell you what she said to me then. I don't know if it's a kid thing, but I never could stick to anything. I had no patience, I had no perseverance. And it was only much later in my Christian walk that I discovered that perseverance, that quality of stickability, is a hallmark of the Christian disciple, the ability to endure, to stick things out no matter how tough the road might get. Psalm 129 is a psalm of perseverance. They've greatly oppressed me from my youth. Let Israel say, they've greatly oppressed me, but have not gained the victory over me. Plowmen have plowed my back and made their furrows long. The Lord is righteous. He has cut me free from the cords of the wicked. May all who hate Zion be turned back in shame. May they be like grass on the roof, which withers before it can grow. A reaper cannot fill his hands with it, nor one who gathers full his arms. May those who pass by not say to them, the blessing of the Lord be on you. We bless you in the name of the Lord. Wow! What an opening verse, if I might quote from the RSV. Sorely have they afflicted me from my youth, yet they have not prevailed against me. They've not prevailed. Have you ever wondered or given thought to just how tough and how resilient is the Christian faith? That despite hundreds and thousands of years of persecution, of the world waging war against the church and against the people of God, despite painful ridicule, the world has yet to win. And folks, that's because real faith lasts. Real faith endures. Have you read that passage from 2 Corinthians which talks about the hardships the Apostle Paul encountered on the road he was called to walk? Unbelievable adversities. And yet none of those things could push Paul off the path of faith. None of those things could persuade him that he was on the wrong track. In fact, right at the end of his life, he's still straining towards what is ahead, still pressing towards the goal to win the prize. If there's something that he had that every pilgrim on this road should have, it's perseverance, the ability to endure. Now in verse 4 there is an illustration so vivid that it's painful to recount. The Lord is righteous. He's cut the cords of the wicked. And by itself, that verse doesn't make much sense. You have to look at the previous verse to understand, where he says, plowmen have plowed my back and made their furrows long. Now, I want you to use your imagination here. Israel is personified as a person stretched out on the ground, on their tummy. Enemies have hitched their oxen to the plow and begun cutting long furrows into the land, the back of Israel. Long gashes rip into the skin and muscle, back and forth they go. the agony must have been horrendous. Maybe the psalmist is thinking back to Israel's youth, that time when they were under the lash of their oppressor. But suddenly there is no more pain. The oxen are still moving forward. The herd boys are still shouting their commands and cracking their whips. But you know what? The plow is not moving, because the Lord has cut me free from the cords of the wicked. Those ropes that tied the plow to the oxen had been severed, and so the blades have come to a standstill. The funny thing is that the herdspeople don't even know that. They're still carrying on. They're still strutting next to their oxen, shouting orders, thinking of all they're doing to Israel. If they just look back over their shoulder, they would see that all their bluster and all their evil intentions have come to naught, because the Lord has cut the cords. Amen. There's also a flash of anger in this psalm, and it's a thorn we need to grasp. It comes in verse 5, may all who hate Zion be turned back in shame. Literally, may all who hate Zion be put to shame and turned backward. Now that's a touch of temper. I think we need to admit that. PC Christians might be blushing a little bit at this sign of resentment, but the anger is real. Not appropriate perhaps, but it's authentic. How upset do you get when the world abuses God? When it comes to the things that we care about, we get emotional. Amen. When I hear someone taking the Lord's name in vain as a swear word, I do tend to get a bit steamed. How many of you have seen a child run into the road, unaware of the traffic, and the mother snatching her child back? Well, what does she say to her child? We probably don't want to know. What does she say to the driver who nearly hit her child? Again, I don't want to mention it. Her words may not be appropriate, but they reveal her concern and her love for what really matters to her, the fact that she cares. You see, the Psalms are not sung by perfect pilgrims. They make their mistakes as we make our mistakes. Perseverance doesn't mean perfect. It does mean that you keep going, that you don't quit when you find out that there's still a long way to go. And yes, we'll get caught out yelling at our spouses, at our children. It shows that we care about something. Christians care when someone puts an obstacle in the path of justice. And you might hear the angry shout, may all who hate Zion be turned back in shame. Well, folks, I want to conclude with a statement that our Psalm 129 hinges on. And it comes there in verse 4, the Lord is righteous. Do you see it? The Lord is righteous. Righteousness is not about how right we are, but about our right standing before God, our right relationship with Him. That is our hope. That is our joy. It's the reason we can look back on a long life that's been plowed and crisscrossed and furrowed with depressions and disappointments and tragedies and setbacks. We can look back over all that and still say before the Lord, this road has been a blessing. We can still sing about our experiences. Sorely they've afflicted me from my youth, yet they have not prevailed against me. And the reason we can sing that song, folks, is because God sticks with us. He sticks to the relationship. The central reality of our faith is God's unwavering, personal commitment to us. Perseverance isn't the result of our determination, it's the result of God's faithfulness. We don't have that kind of stamina, but God does. Hebrews 11 is a famous roll of honor of our heroes of the faith. But if you take a closer look, you'll see that those people were pretty ordinary. What made them special is because God stuck with them. None of them were perfect. All of them had the ability to persevere because they centered their lives on a righteous God. God stuck with them so faithfully that they learned to stick with Him. Is that your testimony today? At the end of that list comes a great challenge, and I want you to hear it today, thundering in your ears. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes upon Jesus, the pioneer and author of our faith. Amen. Stick to the road and stick to it with stickability. Shalom.